Yes. I come to the point on this one. I looked at the Quartermaster spec, and my initial response was the payload is way down compared to pretty much any other Ute, Ranger, D-Max, etc. They're looking at 1,000 kilograms, etc. Quartermaster, from what I can see, seems to be in the order of 750, 800, depending on how the tear weight and so forth. And to me, for a utilitarian vehicle, that's very disappointing, because if there's one thing you want from a utilitarian vehicle, it's the ability to carry a payload.
Yeah.
And some private customers might go, you know what, I don't really care. I'll run it overloaded because I know the vehicle can take it. Corporates can't do that. So that to me seems to be a blocker there. And then there's also the fact that it won't have a 5-star safety rating compared to others, and many corporates have a 5-star only policy there. So where do you see the market for the Quartermaster? Who do you think is going to buy it, and for what purpose?
So, well, I guess that's wrapped up. There's a whole lot of elements to that. So firstly, NB1 category vehicles do not have a safety rating.
Yeah, I know.
So and we know that many corporates choose to buy NB1 vehicles or specialist vehicles regardless of their safety rating. And besides that, we haven't gone out with a Grenadier chasing stars. We already know that in many jurisdictions around the world, there are this type of vehicle, this configuration of vehicle, its shape, its size, its weight, and the expectation of electronic safety systems on that vehicle is not something that we planned on delivering upon. And it's so far, it's not something that our customers really want. Already, if you look at the feedback from people in the States, they've got to have ADAS features, but they don't love them, and there's certainly plenty of people that we've spoken to here that have been very happy to buy a Grenadier because it doesn't have some of the overrides that they're experiencing in other vehicles.
Yeah.
So, mining, forestry, emergency services would not be buying 70 series Land Cruisers if it was a question of a safety rating. I think when it comes to the payload specific topic, sure, we would love to have that vehicle with a 1-ton payload, but the only way for us to achieve that is by increasing its GVM.
Yes.
Right? So really at the moment, the only reason the payload in that vehicle is curtailed is because of its curb weight. Yeah, we've got a ceiling because most countries around the world, 3.5 ton, and all of our certification that we need to do really relies upon that. Otherwise, other than Australia, there's going to be different licensing, completely different tax regimes, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
So we're kind of up against that ceiling. We stretched it a little bit for Australia to go to 50 kilos to put it in NB1.
Yeah.
But it's really a question of the curb weight. The vehicle's heavy. Let's not beat around the bush. But why? I challenge anybody to put a Grenadier Quartermaster up on a hoist and put any other ladder frame, similar category, beam axle even, vehicle up on a hoist and look at the frames of those vehicles, look at the diffs and all the other componentry. It's a heavy duty vehicle. So I think what the buyers need to consider is my trade-off on getting a heavy-duty vehicle and that I have an appreciation for the substance that sits behind that against the payload of the vehicle, which way, because I could buy a vehicle with a lower curb weight and a 3.5 ton GVM that might get me my 900 to 1100 even kilograms. And I think, specifically around the leaf sprung 79 series, you do get a higher payload in that vehicle, but the frame of that vehicle, as famous as it is not as heavy duty as a Grenadier. The Grenadier is substantially stronger.
Yeah, and I get the strength bit, and I don't think I've heard anyone complain about the weight of the Grenadier, and I don't think that it could be built any lighter for what it is, other than going away from beam axles to independent suspension, which is a discussion I wouldn't mind having with the tech chief on that and that particular trade-off. But so given it's around 2,800 tear, I'm aware of that 3.5 ton limit. In Australia, we are lucky; our limit is 4.5 tons. Do you think that the Australian vehicles could be given a GVM of 4 tons either by INEOS or work with someone like an Ironman or an ARB to do a GVM upgrade, which eventually will happen once they decide there's enough interest in it. And then that should be one of the easiest GVM upgrades ever because the vehicle's clearly able to take it. And then people, and in order, in my mind, people, then you could go, hang on, the Quartermaster's got a payload of 1,200 and everything else is about 900. All of a sudden, there's this massive reason to buy it. As opposed to a reason not to buy it. Do you see that sort of increase happening for Australia?
If I think about the first examples of this, you've probably got a $1,200 spring upgrade and the best part of $1,000 of engineering certification. There's a couple of players that are already in this space. One of them is a related entity to one of our own agents because they have an engineering business already. In SLRV.
Yeah.
So I think we will see these come about quite easily. We know what the vehicle's capable of and it's, et cetera, et cetera. That's already, we've seen the first examples of that coming out on the wagon, which I think will be easily replicated for the Quartermaster, where, they're going straight to, call it 3.8, 3.9. And that then starts to deliver upon that 1 ton threshold that people are going to be looking for. The other one that we've got particular interest in for the Australian market is the cab chassis version, because that obviously does away with the weight of the tub. Now, of course, you're going to replace that with the weight of a tray.
Or something.
Yeah, or a service body of some sort on the back of it. But there is, I think there's a slight advantage in that equation, depending on what you put on the back, of course. But yeah, that's, and we've already brought our first prototype cab chassis out here and fitted it up with the first tray, which was a Norweld unit. And it looks, like it's a fantastic configuration.
Yeah. So are you saying that you do see a path forwards for aftermarket GVM upgrades for Quartermaster and Grenadier?
I'd say if we don't do it, the others will do it very quickly.
And what effect would that have on warranty? Because typically, if you GVM upgrade a vehicle, you can more or less kiss goodbye to your drivetrain warranty and everything else, which I think is fair enough. Would INEOS take the same view?
At the end of the day, it's upon us to be able to determine if a modification to a vehicle has had any impact on other components and the actual claim on the vehicle. So we will always address any warranty claim on a case-by-case basis.
Okay. So I'm going to read that as not a no, but that caveat is, of course, would apply to any warranty claim, of course, and abuse there as well. But I think that to me has been the biggest single reason I've seen people turn off Quartermaster. I take what you're saying about the fact it's heavy duty, but fundamentally, if it can't carry more than, pick a number, 750, it doesn't matter how heavy duty it is. That's it. And it's not as if the Hiluxes and Rangers of the world are going to fall apart in the first instance anyway.
No, but I think you don't have to go too far to find plenty of images of banana-shaped frames because somebody has stuck a 1-ton load on the back of a dual cab and put it through arduous conditions, or been towing as well, with all that downforce.
Exactly, and in pretty much every case I've seen, that's been abuse of the vehicle. And I've got a photograph I'm going to put on my Facebook page of someone that's got a Triton, and they've put a single cab body on the back of a dual cab Triton, and the overhang is horrendous. Yeah. And they've got an extended tow bar. The tow bar's that far out.
Yeah.
And you're going to tell me that's Mitsubishi's fault? Come on. So I take what you're saying, but there's a lot of people out there who don't abuse their vehicles, and it's just fine. My range is doing really well, for example. So
yeah, I think that if let's say I had my touring vehicle and I loaded it up with, call it 800, my Quartermaster set up for touring, and I loaded it up with 800 kilograms, give or take, and even if I was towing, a camper and everything on that vehicle, then what we can say was we're supremely confident that the fundamentals of that vehicle, the frame, the subframe, and everything is super strong.
I've got no doubt Grenadiers could run around at 4-ton loaded strongly enough. I'm sure that's the case. That's not the point. The point is they're legally limited to 3350, and then that's the insurance, that's everything else.
Yeah.
That's the issue, in particular also the front axle load as well. And I get why that's happened, because the 3500 limit you talked about there, whole new level of testing, etc. And I'm sure if we went back to the engineers and said, can you make the GVM 4-ton? They go, oh my God, no, it's going to be so expensive. Tolerances, we've got to do this test. I get all of that, which is why I think that the sort of aftermarket GVM upgrade can sort of be one stage removed, best of both worlds. But it's
well, I think you use a classic example there of the diff ratings.
Yeah.
With the sum of our two being greater than the GVM of the vehicle,
and hugely greater. I'm impressed by, especially on the rear axle. It's massively overrated. It's great.
Yeah. So what is it, 2150? I hope I've got that number right, but I think it's 2150 on the rear.
Yeah.
And with a relatively short overhang, even with you hooking things up, it's going to be. Yeah, I think it's going to keep a lot of people out of trouble. Even front axles. The amount of people, if they're sticking a bull bar and a winch, and two, driver and passenger in the front with all their other paraphernalia, there's people that would be exceeding their front axle load rates.
No, I've done the maths on it. If you've got your bull bar, your rear bar, your winch, two people on the front, I think you're within 40 kilos of the front axle load straight away. Because soon after, I had two of my readers put the vehicles on weighbridge, give me the weight, so I did the calculations. I think the front axle is at least 100 kilos under, which is a worry. But yeah.
Yep.
All right, cool. We're out of time. So is there anything you want to say or get across that we haven't covered to the general viewership or readership, or anything else? Any other points you'd like to make? So I've done asking all the questions. I want this to be a forum for INEOS to say, hey guys.
Well, I think what I could do is, the Carplay topic, if the message hasn't got out there with regards to Carplay, that was an Australian New Zealand specific issue. It wasn't identified until after our first major round of software upgrades. And that's because everybody had assumed that it was going to be part of the software upgrades.
So what actually is the Carplay issue in your view?
Yeah, it really relates to the capability of the GPS unit in the vehicle being able to keep up speed with data transmission in this part of the world.
Okay.
And so it needed to be recalibrated and reset with new software. That was identified, I think it was around September or October last year, when it really became apparent to us after we started testing the first of the new major software upgrades that came out in October. And so therefore it hadn't been ticketed as an issue beforehand, because everybody thought, well, the new software will come, and that's going to... And the way it was presenting itself was CarPlay maps were hanging.
Okay.
But really what actually was happening was also the compass in the vehicle was playing up. And the Pathfinder mode in the vehicle was playing up. So anyway, we went through an extensive software development phase specific to here. We've now got, and it'll be close to 20 vehicles that we've had it fitted to, and the operation of it's absolutely perfect.
Okay.
I know it's fine, even in my vehicle, it's fine. And we've just been waiting for the validation release of that. I think I told customers about a fortnight or so ago, 3 weeks ago probably, that it was about 4 weeks away. I think it's still about 2 weeks away, so it would probably slip by about a week or so, but it is imminent.
Yeah. Okay. Good.
Yep.
Thank you. Yeah. Right. Anything else you want to get over to people, or have you come to any other messages?
No, like I think that's probably a fair bit of stuff that we've covered. You know, probably for me the biggest challenges that we've got is operating this new business model. To be honest, this whole agency model, and I don't know if that's as interesting to it's probably more the business of automotive.
It would be interesting for people if it relates back to their questions about customer support, accessories, parts. It would be the effect of it as opposed to the business of it, if you see what I mean. It's everything's got to come back to the fact is what affects me getting in my car, setting it up for a big trip and going with peace of mind. That's everything's got to tie back to that question.
Yeah. I think that probably the major issues that we've got under the agency model are more on the front end and the sales process and the transactional aspect of it, and that being quite clunky, and I guess conflicting business behaviours and cultures as we get everybody to adapt to this new model, and that's quite the dream, the vision, and the benefits of the agency model, which were actually rooted in a customer insight around customers wanting to have hassle-free, low sophisticated sales pressure, franchise dealer kind of behaviours into a one price, one lot of inventory, deal with the OEM kind of relationship. Yeah. But the fulfilment of that is a much bigger journey than we could have ever envisaged. And that's that. I think if there was a conversation that maybe it's another thing to have around where that evolution of that business model and the change management piece of that in franchised environments and the OEM side to make that all mesh and work beautifully, and then therefore the impact on the end user is probably it's a completely different conversation. Okay. Yeah, a lot of learnings in that. Yeah, I think that the view will be worth the climb, as they say, but we're not there yet.
Yeah, no, that's good. Yeah. All right. Well, thank you very much indeed for your time. Really appreciate you giving 2 hours of your time to